Dear Rabbi, dear professors, dear students, dear guests, well, this Gospel of St. Thomas feast is a challenge. We should not call each other rabbi, we should not call each other teacher or master. All this is not right. So here we are in an academic institution where we have teachers and we are happy to have them. So I think it is good to make some reflections about what it does mean to be teacher according to the words of Jesus, and what it means to acquire wisdom, because both are essential for the ITI. Here, teaching is here essential, therefore we need teachers, and the aim of teaching is to acquire wisdom. So what is wisdom and what is the role of the teacher? If we had plenty of time, I would love to take another text of St. Thomas and to read it with you, but it would take much more time because it's a fairly consistent text on De Magistro, the master, the teacher. Quaestio disputata de veritate, and of course there is the question about what does it mean to teach and what does it mean to acquire wisdom. St. Thomas in this text begins with the first objection exactly with this text here. You shall not call each other master, rabbi, teacher, because there's only one teacher. God is your teacher. So, and you can imagine that the students were happy to oppose to Magister Thomas. He was Magister at the University of Paris. That was the highest rank you could reach in the academic life. Magister in Sacra Pagina, Magister in theology, in sacred scripture. You call yourself master, but Jesus had said, do not call you each other master. So what will be the answer of St. Thomas? We could pass an entire seminar on this quaestio disputata, but it is good to consider it in the light of the mission of the ITI. First of all, we can object Jesus that he gave his disciples, his pupils, matetoiai, the task to make disciples, but that's to make them Schüler, to learn. And then he said, make all nations disciples, Schüler, pupils, pupils of Jesus. And then at the end he says, and teach them, didaskain, teach them, so they must become teacher. Jesus said, do not call yourself teacher, but you must become teacher. It's fascinating. Is this a contradiction? Or does it say something about what it means to be teacher in the sense of the Bible? And St. Thomas in this question, de quaestio disputata de magistro, starts with great metaphysic questions, as always. He reduces the question to the metaphysical point. The metaphysical point is, can a person be taught? And if a person can be taught, by whom? Jesus says that you have only one master. You are all brothers. So he's the only to teach. God is the only teacher. And therefore St. Thomas says, or the objection says, God alone is teacher. Why do we need human teachers? Because God teaches directly, immediate. He teaches through the light, the divine light. That was the position of the Islamic philosophy. God teaches immediately. No mediation, no human teacher. And there are two schools. That the one says God teaches immediately, gives in the mind of the students the forms, the content, the illumination that makes them know. Or the more Platonic tradition says teaching is in fact awake the memory, awake what is already present in the memory. That's the Platonic view. The ideas are already innate within us, and the teacher can only, like wie heißt das, eine Hebamme? A midwife can bring out what is already in. So in both cases, what is the duty of the teacher? Why do we need academic institutions if God gives it immediately? Or if we all already know, because it is innate, it is within us. So, of course, St. Thomas has to come back to what we have heard before about synergy, working together. And to make it short, St. Thomas agrees with the Platonic view that every person has already innate the essential to know. But it is not a concrete knowledge, it is the capacity of knowledge. It is the capacity to understand. It's the light of the intelligence, the light of the human intelligence. But does Thomas then reduce the importance of God's enlightenment? St. John says that he is the light that enlightens, that illuminates everybody. How is it with this illumination that comes from God? Is this illumination also the content of what we have to learn in school, mathematics? I have had very little divine illumination in mathematics. It didn't work with me. Was it a lack of divine illumination, or was it a lack of capacity in myself, or was it a bad teacher? All is possible. St. Thomas shows that the fascinating in teaching is that the teacher can only do what he has done himself. What was the learning of the teacher? And the learning of the teacher can only be the same way as the teacher is teaching. If he's a good teacher, he follows the way he himself became through learning a teacher. St. Thomas says that somehow we do not need teachers because we all can learn by ourselves. And there are very many self-made men and women, people who have taught themselves patiently and came to great knowledge. But the teacher can abbreviate the way. He cannot follow another way than the person who learns by herself. But he can help the person to reach more easily what he can learn himself. Therefore, St. Thomas says, the problem is not that you call yourself master, the students giggling about St. Thomas Magister in Sacra Pagina, at a high position in the Sorbonne at the University of Paris. No, he said, you have a false understanding of teaching. The Magister has to go the same way as you have to go, but he has to serve you that you go more easily this way. But the capacity to learn is within you. And he gives a very good comparison. He says, the doctor cannot put health into the person, into the sick. Health comes from within the person. The virtus sanativa, as he says, the virtue, the capacity to heal is in the body, is in the person. The doctor can only help that the healing powers of the body come forth. And the teacher cannot do else than the doctor. He can help that what is the light of the intelligence, and that is very important, he says, that's a modified Platonic view. He says that not the content of knowledge is within us, but the capacity of knowledge is within us. And this capacity comes through the innate presence of the prima principia, as he called it. Prima principia, the first elements of knowledge that are in every human intelligence. And in the light of these first principles, knowledge can grow, knowledge can arise, can be strengthened, and can be accomplished. And so he accepts the view of illumination of St. Augustine. Augustine speaks about the magister interior, the inner master that teaches us. This inner master is for St. John is the logos, is the verbum, the word that teaches every human being from inside. This is the illuminatio, the magister interior. But to come to knowledge needs, of course, the active participation, the capacity of the pupil. And what is then about wisdom? For St. Thomas, wisdom is the capacity to see all things in the light of the highest reasons, or the highest principles, or the highest, is like the eagle who has the view, the highest view on everything. Wisdom is the capacity to see things not only in the immediate connections, but in the light of the highest reasons, the highest principles, or the highest realities. And therefore, for him to reach this highest view, the only way is charity, is love. Love reaches this view of all things in the light of the divine principles of the divine light. But here also St. Thomas comes again to the question, to the topic of connaturality. How can wisdom grow within the human person? It's becoming more and more connatural to the reality, to the divine reality, so that the divine reality is not known only from the books, but from the experience. Parti divina, he says, from Dionysius Areopagita, parti divina, not only to study the divine things, but to party, to suffer them, or to receive them, to be formed by them. And that makes, and that's a very beautiful teaching of St. Thomas, that makes the connaturality to what we have learned and what we have understood. And to exemplify it, I say what I taught always when I spoke about Eucharist in my lectures at the university. I always began to say, we will now learn a lot about the teaching of St. Thomas, the Church, about the mystery of Eucharist. And I know a lot about, and the great masters know even much more than me, but I can tell you one thing. There are many people who have not studied theology, but they understand what the Eucharist is by connaturality, by a judgment and an understanding by connaturality. They know what is Eucharist not by learning, not by concepts, but parti divina, by faith, by experience. And this knowledge of connaturality, this judgment of connaturality, is achieved in the most highest way by love. Those who love the Lord, those who love Him in her life, get this knowledge that we can acquire through teaching, but never acquire it in the depth, in the existential reality, as those who have learned it by connaturality. So I say this, said this always to my students, not to discourage them to study, because what you do, studying theology, philosophy, is not to become superior to the simple faithful, but to serve better. And St. Thomas says the Magister is not higher than the others, but he has a higher service. He has the service of the faith, of the simple, of the faithful. And if he is a servant, then the word of Jesus is not applied to him, because he then has the one only master, whom we are all servants. Sorry to be a little bit long, but we are in a symposium, and you may listen to some teachings of St. Thomas. Knowing by connaturality, this is the best achievement of theological studies. That does not imply that you do not need to study seriously, because studying seriously is a service. But always have the respect for those simple faithful who know what you are studying in a deeper way, because they know it through connaturality.